Hey everyone, it's Natural Gabby and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you decided to click on this video. I'll be doing a mini series on the road to Nbcot where I'll be including tips and tricks and things that I use to pass, and hopefully you can gather some information from what I use. I'll be uploading videos every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're struggling on trying to figure out where to start, where do I begin, then make sure you stay tuned for this video. So whenever you begin a study plan, it's all about thinking about the different obligations that you have. Are you a parent? Are you working full-time, part-time? Do you have animals? Do you live alone? Do you live with a bunch of roommates? So I think it's really important to try to schedule your study times around the time where there's the least traffic around your home. And after I thought about my different obligations, I went ahead and decided to map out how many weeks I wanted to dedicate to studying. I know for me, my attention span isn't really long, so I couldn't imagine myself doing 8-hour days or 7-hour days like some students do. So personally, I recommend 6 to 8 weeks to study for your exam, starting your studying on a Monday and counting 6 weeks from that Monday. But this is completely up to you. I've known people who have studied for 2 weeks and who've done well, or who studied for 10 weeks, 8 hours a day. It's all about knowing your strengths and weaknesses. So once you've developed your start date and your end date, I would recommend going onto the Nbcot website and looking at when the test results are released. So as you look at the schedule, if you see February 25th, the scores are released on a Thursday. You have to at least take your exam 3 days prior to that release date for your exam scores to be released on the 25th. So for instance, if you take your exam on February 23rd, your exam scores will not be released until March 10th. That is a long time to be waiting for some scores, but to each his own. I just didn't want to be waiting weeks and weeks and missing out on hours of valuable sleep trying to figure out what these test results were. So we thought about our obligations. We set the amount of time, how many weeks we want to dedicate to studying. We looked at the release dates, and when I developed my study plan, I made it on a Word document so it was easily changeable. I've never been a type A person where everything has to be colored in the lines and everything has to be perfect and everything has to go by these strict guidelines. That's never been me, and especially during this process, it was not me. I allowed a lot of flexibility within my schedule. There were some days I didn't feel like studying, so I kind of took it easy. And there are some days where I was feeling super motivated, so I made sure I racked up on a lot of time during those moments. I made my Word document, and for the 6 weeks, I wrote out each and every day. So for instance, November 7th, November 8th, November 9th, November 10th. And each of those days I had a certain topic and content area that I wanted to cover. As you see on this document, I have AOTA PDF, Therapy Ed, OT Mary / other. So once I went ahead and filled out my Word document with the dates that I planned on studying, I then took the Therapy Ed exam A. And that exam will highlight what areas you need to focus a little bit more on. It was a great way to try to gauge, okay, so I need to spend a lot more time on neuro, or I'm pretty good in standards of practice. So for me, I wanted to first begin and tackle those areas that I wasn't as strong in. Therapy Ed is hard as crap. When I first completed the exam A, I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to be ready for the exam. So whenever you get those scores back, please do not feel discouraged. And my scores was like, yeah, okay. My first weakest area was neuro, then human development and aging, then psychiatric disorders and approaches, musculoskeleton, the process of OT, evaluation and intervention, professional standards and responsibility, cardiopulm, and cognitive perceptual disorders. Alright, so once I figured out my weakest areas, I went ahead and included those into my study plan. I wanted to incorporate my Therapy Ed exams every 2 or so weeks, so I would include what days days I was going to take that exam, typically on a Friday. So for me, I wanted to dedicate more time on those more meaty areas, such as the mental health and the neuro and the milestones, developmental milestones. So those are the areas that I wanted to spend about 4 or 5 days on. Those are those really heavy topics. But when it comes to wheelchairs or vision, I spent only a couple days on those areas. Try to be as efficient and effective as possible. So some things that you should include in your study plan would be what content area you plan on discussing, what supplemental information you'll be pulling from, such as Pedretti or group dynamics of mental health, OT Miri, OT exam prepper. I would also include any time you planned on meeting with a study group. Once you've completed content area, go ahead and highlight and get that out of the way. If you need a 3-day weekend, girl, guy,
boy, girl,
take that break, okay? I would also include your therapy ed exam scores. It's a great way to track your progress. So a couple other resources I used. I love the therapy ed office hours and Pass the OT group calls. So I went ahead and put that in my calendar. I think the best advice I can give is to make sure that you have work-life balance. Alright guys, so that concludes this video. I hope you found it helpful. You were able to get some sort of tips and tricks and whatever. Don't forget to make sure you give it a big thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe, do all of that. And if you'd like to get a copy of the template that I used for my study plan, just send me a quick email and I'll get back to you and I'll go ahead and send it. Alright, you all have a great rest of your day and great luck studying. You've got this. Allow yourself grace. Do not put yourself in that box of anxiousness and worry. Change that mindset and you will pass this exam. See you later. Bye.